All right, guys, Coach Bill here. So I want you guys to identify which of these two you are so that you can hopefully start to get lean. Now, you need to be able to identify if you are a grazer, you are constantly eating all the time, you're walking by the desk every single day and there's M&Ms on the desk and you're just walking by, grabbing some, or just constantly snacking. You may not eat a lot, like a huge meals, but you are always consuming food and you may not even be conscious of it. So you may be a grazer. Overeaters, we struggle with portion controls. So when you go to eat, you get seconds or thirds, or you build your plate out as high as possible. You need to identify which one you are. But first, let's start with the grazer. Okay, so the grazer, we need to limit ourselves in the times that we eat. So essentially, you're going to become an intermittent faster. So write these numbers down. So we're looking at 16 and 8, 18 and 6, and 20 and 4. Okay, so what's going to happen is you're going to have a time where you're not eating, and then you're going to have a time where you are consuming calories. Your eating window is what we call it. So since you're a grazer, we have a hard time getting all of our calories you get your calories in a big range of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to limit the time that you're actually eating. All right, so 16 hours, we're going to try to not eat, and then that 8 hours you can consume all your calories. And hopefully that will reduce your grazing. This is the easiest timeline to start with. If I ever want to start losing body fat or start losing weight, I start with this window. If you want to get more intense, once you've done this successfully for like 2 or 3 weeks, you're more than welcome to move on to a more intense restriction where you go 18 and 6. If you want to get real crazy, you can go 20 and 4. I don't think it's necessary. I think the farthest you ever probably need to go is like the 18 6-hour window. Yeah, and then also, the last thing I wanted to talk about was make sure you have your eating window around the meal that you enjoy the most or the one that's non-negotiable. So if you love dinner the most, make sure your eating window allows for you to have dinner. So don't have your fasting window from noon until the next morning where you have to skip lunch and dinner. So if lunch is a big deal for you, you like lunch, that's your favorite meal, or breakfast is your favorite meal, make sure your eating window is during that time. Don't skip your favorite meal. It's going to make you anxious and resentful to the whole process of fasting. So make sure your favorite meal is included within your eating window. Now, our overeaters, we have to make a different adjustment. We struggle with portion control. So I want you to draw a circle. Now, 25% of your plate is going to be one thing, and then we're going to cut that in half. So this part over here is going to be your protein intake. Almost a little less than half your plate will be some type of protein. The biggest part of your plate is going to be some type of fiber-based carb. Okay, so we're talking vegetables, we're talking fruits, things that are high in fiber is what we want to be the majority of our plates. And the ones that we struggle with most people struggle with most, are starchy carbs. So we're talking the rice, we're talking potatoes, we're talking pasta. Usually, starchy carbs are the reason that our portion control goes a bit crazy. Those are the ones that are most fun to eat. Those are the ones that are easy to overconsume. It's hard to overconsume calories and start gaining weight on fibrous carbs and protein. So keep that in mind. So we still want to put it on our plate, but we don't want it to be the majority of our plates. I still want you to include it. I don't want you to avoid it at all because that will make you resentful to the process again. And I also don't want you to build this plate out as far as high as you possibly can. And it's to be level and use some discretion and some common sense when you go to do this. This is going to stop us from doing that overeating. Another rule I like to think about, if you go out to a restaurant, you're only allowed to get your entree. I want you to build it out like this, but you're not allowed to have the chips and queso before or the dessert afterwards. We need to control our portions. That's our biggest issue. So enjoy your entree, build out your proportions built like this, and try to avoid the appetizers, and desserts. Identify, am I a grazer or am I an overeater? And then make those adjustments based on whatever category you put yourself.